Welcome everyone to the UCSB Communication Virtual Career Series. My name is Taylor. I'm part of the Comm Council. I'm really excited to be moderating this event tonight. So we have these every single month, and it's really just a chance to bring in comm alumni to be able to speak about their jobs and just really to get excited about all the different jobs that you can get with a comm degree. So I would love to talk about the next one we have is going to be next month, and that's going to be with Kendra Miller, who is a senior brand manager at Sunbum. So that's going to be a really interesting event. So make sure to register if you haven't done so already. I also want to discuss Comm Career Day, which is just around the corner. So for students, just be on the lookout for the invitation coming soon. And then if we have any Comm alumni on this call and you'd want to join, we would love for you to join. So I put the email there as well. Just you could take a picture of it, reach out. You'd be joining as an alumni table host where you would just be able to offer your insights. And it's like we set up like a speed networking type of event. So it's really fun for alumni and students. So definitely want to check that out. And then also just making sure that you are connected with all of our socials, that we're always posting what events we have coming up. So definitely make sure that you are plugged in with all of those social media channels. All right. And then I'm very excited to introduce Erika Quiel today. She is going to just bring a really great presentation. So I'm happy to introduce her. She is a vice president of entertainment at iHeartMedia and has worked in the media industry for over 20 years. She is a passionate collaborator and high-stakes builder of entertainment and content partnerships. In her current role at iHeartMedia, Erika works cross-platform and has implemented several first-to-market studio campaigns across iHeart podcasts, radio, streaming, and events, most recently partnering with film releases such as Warner Bros. Barbie, Sony Pictures' Anyone But You, HBO Max House of Dragons, and many others. She previously held positions at NBC Universal, collaborating with advertisers on the streaming platforms Peacock, as well as NBC, Bravo, the NFL, the Olympics, USA Network, WWE, and Sci-Fi. Most notably, she played an integral role with the branded entertainment team on the hit show Suits in partnership with Lexus for 7 seasons. She is in her element when she can partner with brands, building genuine trust and synergy and exceeding expectations. Erika earned her BA in Communications and Sociology at the University of California, Santa Barbara. She resides in Los Angeles and enjoys snowboarding, volleyball, the beach, and traveling with her family, which includes her husband and 2 teenage daughters. So quite the introduction. I'm very excited to kick it over to Erika so she can begin sharing her presentation. I'm going to start.
Amazing. Thank you so much for the introduction,
Oh,
Taylor. I'm super
sorry. I
excited.
just want to also add, sorry, real quick. As Erica's going through her presentation, please feel free to add your questions to the chat. And then afterwards, I'll be going through the chat. I'll allow you to ask your questions. So definitely be putting them in the chat throughout her presentation. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you again. So nice to see all of you. Thanks so much for joining. It's going to take me just a second. Let me just get up to speed here. Oh, goodness gracious. Let's close out these fun things. Let's go here. Let's go there. And let's see here. One sec. Oh, sneak peek there. So how are we looking? Good. Yes? Awesome. All right. We'll start that over again. But thank you very much, Taylor. Really appreciate it. Very excited to be here and talk a little bit about my journey. It's been quite the retrospective, kind of going back 2 decades. I did graduate in 2000. I am a California native, was born and raised in Burbank. So you could say that entertainment has been in my backyard, which is right next door to Hollywood. And so wasn't necessarily something that I thought I would do. It was always kind of there. And then as I kind of grew up a little bit, really started to get into it as I was going through school in a little bit. So With that, I'm going to share a couple of things, talk a little bit about my UCSB days. Of course, we all learn a lot, and you got to have some fun doing it, being right by the beach. Really hard not to have fun. So definitely was a wonderful experience in my 4 years at Santa Barbara. One of my first gigs was working at the Alumni Club. Definitely learned how to talk to adults and be present, and learned a few things about, being around people of stature and kind of, working through that, and some not stature, but it was a fun job. To make a little bit of money, I picked up a job as an assistant to an insurance broker. And I know that doesn't sound really fun, but one of the best things about doing that is it polished my office skills. So basically, learning how to be an executive assistant, learning how to talk to people, to work through problems, to create reports, be a little bit polished. So, these are things that are really important as you get in the industry and you kind of grow up, learning from other people. So that definitely applied as I was kind of figuring out what I wanted to do. I had a summer job at Universal Studios Hollywood, and I worked in the theme park, and I had a great experience working in show control, which is basically the people that are shuffling people in and out of theaters. But I also got great experience learning how to present in front of a large crowd. You see, I'm in a really big conference room here. I present all the time. I was actually at Warner Brothers today with about 30 people and executives, talking to them about partnerships and things that we can do. So it definitely prepared me for speaking to a lot of people and, holding a mic and, learning how to talk and do all that. So you never know what you're going to learn. But that job also funneled into something as an operations assistant, made a little bit more money. And then I would go home during the summers and on break and continually work at Universal. One of the other fun things I did and really got my feet wet with entertainment was working as an extra, or some people know it as a background actor. And this was great because I was on set, I was on lots. I got to see how everybody does their job and, what the different pieces are. I got to make a lot of connections. You make not a lot of money, but you get free food, and you definitely get your feet wet in learning things. And I pulled up this clip from YouTube, and it's kind of fun. It's a quick clip. You might blink and miss me, but I was on an episode of Seinfeld. So here's that.
Oh, it's smart. It's a smart line, and a smart crowd will appreciate it. And I'm not going to dumb it down for some bonehead mass audience. Hot you.
Like I said, you'd blink and you might miss it, but it was definitely a lot of fun. And I also joined the Alpha Phi sorority, and I know Greek life isn't for everybody, but I think one of the things that I definitely learned was a lot about planning events, fundraising, leading a team, being on an executive board, a little bit of HR situations. So you kind of get into what it's like working at a corporation, even if it's at a small level. Also founded Phi-Ball, which is a men's volleyball tournament at UCSB, and fundraised with the American Heart Association. So I learned how to kind of wheel and deal, get prizes, kind of work with people. So it definitely built a good foundation, later on. Take golf, take tennis, go sailing, take these classes if you can at UCSB, because you won't have time to do it when you're older. That's one thing. But I can't tell you how many times I am doing business on the golf course or at a yoga studio or running, now pickleball has kind of become the thing. If you have a passion for something, it will definitely come to play, because you will find somebody who has a similar passion for that. And that's a great way to make a connection. So it's a little bit about my UCSB days. Another thing is, I remember in one of my comm classes, they said, we're looking for volunteers to work the International Film Festival and work on the PR team. And as I still understand, there is still a big draw for the International Film Festival. So I was fortunate enough, I applied, I interviewed, and I was able to get a lot of on-the-job training. Again, not a paid position, but it was incredibly beneficial. I got to write my first press release. I became a gopher. Doesn't sound that exciting, but you are running errands and learning time management. I walked the red carpet, which also means that I worked the press line. So I am escorting people and talking to the press and understanding how the entire process works when they're premiering films. I learned event planning. If there was a dinner, if there was a special event, what it takes and the ins and outs of doing all of that. And as I had mentioned, I escorted my first high profile celebrities. Maybe some of you know who Whoopi Goldberg, Jimmy Smits, and Soleil Moon Frye are. But that was really fun for me. There's a picture of Soleil Moon Frye there on the right. She was Punky Brewster in a show that ran in the 80s on NBC. And then on the left are some of the public relations people that I had worked with. And it was a lot of fun, and I definitely learned a lot. So took that internship with me. I thought PR was the way to go. It is exactly what I wanted to do for a living. I definitely wanted to get into public relations. And what that internship did was open a door for me to talk to the PR firm that handled the Santa Barbara International Film Festival and pitch them for an assistant job. So when I graduated, I moved back home to Los Angeles, super excited, pitched PMK HBH, which is no longer, they've merged into another PR company, but mind you, they handled high profile clients like Meryl Streep and Tom Cruise. I also pitched a job at the Walt Disney Company working for the Disney Channel. And lucky for me, I ended up getting both jobs, and I had a very big decision to make on which one I wanted to do. I had decided I wanted to go to PMK HBH because it was solely focused on PR and working with talent and getting to work red carpet. Excuse me for 1 second.
And then,
unfortunately, there was a hiring freeze. And so the job went away, and I was going to have to wait until the following year or plus to get that job. So I went back to Walt Disney a few days later. I said, just kidding. I would absolutely love to take that job. And lo and behold, they gave it to somebody else. So I said, in a very nice way, forget the entertainment industry. I am done. I'm out. I'm leaving. I'm going to go to Point Loma down to San Diego, and I'm going to try my luck there. Well, as luck would have it, 9/11 hit, and it was really difficult to get a marketing job, a PR job, anything that was kind of in that comm realm. So I had to work odd jobs. I worked at Children's Hospital doing research on a topic that's not very great, but it was on suicide prevention for teens in high schools. It was very heavy. I also worked as a server at Black Angus. So I did whatever I could to pay the rent. Then there was a PR job that came up with the American Red Cross. I got to the final round, and it turned out that my interview was in a conference room just like this one with 15 executives that had flown in just to interview me, and I bombed it. I had no idea what I was in for. I had no clue that I was walking into a room of 15 people that were going to be grilling me and talking about situations. And mind you, the American Red Cross does so much from a fundraising standpoint, not just blood donations, but obviously emergencies and whatnot. And as a PR professional, you have to be on your toes and you have to know exactly what you're going to say. But I didn't have enough experience at that point, and that was very, very difficult for me. So I ended up finding an advertising agency called Advanced Marketing Strategies. They did not have any jobs. I met with someone and I said, look, I will work for you for free. So that's why the intern is in quotes. And they let me, learn some chops, learn some things about advertising, which is really relevant to what I do now. And I'll get into that in a moment. But again, you got to get your foot in the door, and you got to talk to some people, and they have some needs, and you got to fill those needs in any way that you can. But with that, could not afford to live for free in San Diego. So I kind of put my tail between my legs, went back home to Burbank, California. And then I went back to my job at Universal Studios. At this point, I was working as an executive assistant in an office and working in the operations team. But you know what that did was it opened a few doors at Universal Studios because it's a giant corporation, a very big company. There's a lot of different facets to it. I applied for a marketing job, had a really great interview, but I didn't get it. Then the HR managers, they actually had offered somebody else the job, and I had interviewed well. I had learned at that point some of the things that I needed to do. They said, hey, guess what? We think you would be really great at the sales assistant job. And it was in advertising sales. And I said, you know what? I am just not cut out for sales. That is just not my style. And they said, look, you should give it a shot. You know, it seems like it might be up your alley. And I took that job as a sales assistant. So now we go on to what I did at NBC Universal back then. It was USA and Sci-Fi Channel. And I'll kind of motor through this just to let you know kind of the things that you need to do in terms of getting to the next level. So I started as a sales assistant, worked on a team where we were working with advertisers who were placing media buys with our company and running commercials on the television networks, USA, Sci-Fi, we had Trio at the time, and then the company ended up getting bought by GE, and we ended up merging with a few different companies. So I ended up working with a lot of different channels. But some of the things I learned when I was an assistant that helped me get to my next job as a sales planner was be punctual, don't be late, write everything down. When somebody is teaching you something new, they want to see that you will remember it. So writing it down is important. I just think it's, unless it's kind of like when you go to a restaurant and somebody takes your order and they don't write it down, I think 9 out of 10 times something's off or something's wrong. Nothing against them, but I think when you write it down, it just kind of shows that you're really paying attention and you're really involved. Get off your phone, put it away, especially during meetings. I understand that some people need it, and sometimes there are things that you cannot avoid, but it is like kind of etiquette. Try not to have it on the table, even if it is face down. Try to put it away. It just shows people that you're engaged, that you're talking to them, and that you value their time. And that's something that's really important, especially as you're trying to grow in your career. If there's some kind of problem, if you made a mistake and something happened, try to offer solutions. And if you don't know solutions, it's okay. You can ask questions, but it's not always going to be bad. You can definitely work through it. You might not have the right answer, but you'll get there. Again, it's okay not to know everything. Definitely ask questions and work with people as you do it. Feedback is a gift. When I started out, I got a lot of feedback that made me cry, feedback that made me want to quit. But you know what? You take that feedback and you adjust what you do and you work through it. And then once you kind of correct a couple of things, then it all ends up working out. That is, if it's the right thing for you and the way that you feel. You want to always connect with other people because you never know where the next job is going to be. Let's say I'm working in sales as ad sales and I still wanted to work in PR. I definitely knew the PR team. I was definitely meeting with them. They knew who I was. I knew who they were. We would grab lunch. We would talk. If that was the next step that I wanted to take, I definitely had a path to do that. But to be honest, I actually really liked being a sales assistant because for me, it was about servicing clients and it was also about doing promotions. It was about taking people out. It was a little bit of PR, a little bit of marketing and doing some partnerships. So I ended up kind of sticking with it. And do this internally and externally. So I mean that within your corporation, but make sure you get tight with the people that you're working with. I actually leveraged a relationship I had with someone outside the company because they wanted to hire me and promote me. So I actually got countered because they wanted me to come work for them. So when you have those relationships, it's going to help you if you want to be promoted and move up in your career. Take initiative. Everybody says that a lot, but there's a picture up here of Halloween Horror Nights 2017 West Coast Sci-Fi ad sales. And these are all clients. Sci-Fi Network, science fiction channel, doesn't necessarily appeal to a lot of people. It's very niche. And what we needed was some help on promoting it and getting people to buy in and do more of it. I just came up, I said, what if we took some clients to Halloween Horror Nights? The first year, I think I maybe had 5. This blew up to over 100 people. We were running out of theater. We were running out restaurants, and it just got really massive. And the company was really happy because once clients are happy and they're doing things and they engage with your product, it means they might, and most likely than not, end up spending a lot of money, within that. So You also want to develop skills and learn the next job so that you're ready to be promoted. So the trajectory for my business for ad sales was you start as a sales assistant, you go to a sales planner, and then you become an account executive, director, and then so on and so forth. So I'd already learned how to be a sales planner, and that's that extra time that you're spending that you're not getting paid for, so that when the time came and a position opened, or that I needed to be promoted, or that I was countered, I was already ready to go. And then here's a very big tip. Don't ask to be promoted because you've worked at a place for a specific amount of time. I don't care if you've worked there for 6 months. I don't care if you've worked there for 6 years. I care about you and what you do and what you can offer and how we can utilize you as an employee, as a team member, how we can collaborate with you. Just something to keep in mind. Time is very precious, completely understandable, but you also have to market yourself as somebody who has a skill set that's going to contribute to a team, to to help grow budgets. So, just be really weary of that. And then set clear intentions. Just, if you know what your career path is, I think it's always very good to vocalize that and talk about it, so that sometimes it's not clear. I mean, I think when I switched from NBC Universal to iHeart, it took me some time to kind of figure out exactly what I wanted to do. But, it does take time, but just know kind of a little bit of what your intentions are and definitely vocalize them. And then also find a mentor. And it isn't necessarily interviewing people and saying, hey, will you be my mentor? It's basically finding somebody who's either doing a job that you want, somebody that you admire either from afar, somebody that could give you advice on your career path. This is really important because as you're writing your resume, as you're kind of working through your career, it's really nice to have a resource and a mentor and somebody to kind of bounce things off of to help you get to the next level. So these are just some more fun pictures about, some things that we did. That NBC Universal one on the bottom left, they had a triathlon team. And I can't tell you how many CMO presidents of various divisions also did the triathlon. Definitely made a lot of good connections there too. I'm not going to go through what I did once I got promoted as an account executive and sales director, but just kind of giving you guys a little bit of insight that once I moved to this level, it was a lot more strategic. I was working with a lot more teams. I was overseeing a $210 million budget. I oversaw a lot of networks and a lot of content, and definitely worked through a lot of very big partnerships, which was a lot of fun. But then it was also a lot of work. I also expanded the categories that I worked with. I worked with tech, entertainment, retail, auto accounts, and my company actually ended up transitioning quite a bit. Remember, I had said that GE had bought us, and Comcast came in and bought us and restructured, and there were layoffs and there were things kind of happening. But I always positioned it every time I met with HR, because you were basically trying to position it to keep your job. I said, look, I like opportunities. I want to do something different. This will give me a chance to try this or work on this account or work with these people. That's what I like. I like something that's not routine. I like doing different things. So that's how I positioned myself. And I was very fortunate because, knock on wood, I didn't get laid off maybe through like 6 rounds of different layoffs. I actually was promoted a few times. So was able to kind of work that in my favor. So with that, showing you guys just a little bit of insight, some of the fun that I had over the years, meeting with a lot of different people across the company. We had some really cool shows. WWE, got to hold the belt, met Conan O'Brien, Andy Cohen, Ian Ziering. If you remember, Sharknado was kind of a big movie at one point. I've met many housewives, a lot of the Bravo celebrities. I got to sit in the chair and spin it for voice. So definitely had a lot of fun, throughout the years. I actually got to record a song with a bunch of clients that ended up being in one of our videos for our presentation. So this is just kind of a little taste of like some of the things that I did. And then I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the partnerships and something that's a part of the business that I'm in. So in advertising sales, it's, the very simple form is you're selling ad space. And because I worked in linear television and then later on in streaming, you are selling that time where an advertiser is promoting a brand or a film or a car launch or something, and you're working with them. So one of the things that I did was branded entertainment. And this is kind of like integrations, right? You see movies where somebody's holding a Coke can, or you're watching a TV show and, you know, maybe they're logging into Microsoft computer, or you know, there's different facets of this. Branded entertainment, I'm just going to kind of read this really quickly. It's an umbrella term for all brand produced content where the goal is to have audiences watch or engage with the same mindset they would a film or TV series, as opposed to more traditional forms of advertising, blah, 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 blah. So this is basically getting people engaged where you're using shows, you're using content to kind of bridge the gap between advertising something and kind of it's a little bit subliminal, but then just getting people really interested in what's going on. So one of the shows that I had worked with at USA Network through NBC Universal, you all might know Suits. It's been kind of getting a little bit of resurgence lately, especially with Netflix. Lexus was wanted to come in, luxury car company. We ended up integrating them into the actual show, but then on the side, we really wanted to show the features of the car, really understand the product and kind of give it a little bit more depth. So we ended up coming up with this partnership that was multi-years, and we ended up tying into different actors and different characters from the show and kind of working through them. We did do something with Meghan Markle where she was going through restaurants in New York. I'll spare you that one. And this was kind of fun. This with Patrick J. Adams, who is one of the leads on Suits. I'm just going to show a quick clip. This is behind the scenes footage. We went to Joshua Tree before it was a thing, mind you, because this was a while ago. And at like 4 a.m, right as the sun was coming up, we had a boom and we had a truck, and you know, we were kind of working through filming the spot. But I'll show you the behind the scenes of what it looked like when I was sitting in the van, and then I'll show you a clip of what it actually looked like when it hit the air. So here's just a quick behind the scenes.
Funny if you could bring this guy. Patrick was told.
That will cause a fit.
Okay, not super exciting, but once you kind of put it all together, here's what it looked like on air.
As an actor, I get to travel the world. As a photographer, I try to capture it. And as a person, I want to honor and protect as much of it as I can. And that's how I know it's never just about where you end up, but how you get there. The journey is the destination.
Suits, all new episodes Wednesdays at 9 on USA. Presented by Lexus in their pursuit of perfection. What inspires you? Show us on Instagram using #SuitsInspiration.
That was something fun that we did. And you always want to give everything that you're doing legs because you know, even though you're running it on linear television or you're running it on streaming, there's always a social component or something within the digital space to basically just amplify what you're doing, because these are larger partnerships. So that's kind of where that hashtag comes in. And there's a little bit of co-branding with the show. So if you are a Suits fan and you see a commercial with Patrick J. Adams, or you see this branded entertainment piece, it's going to make you a little bit more engaged. One quick example of closing a deal and something that kind of worked when I was at Comic-Con. So again, with NBC Universal, Comic-Con is kind of a big space where we end up premiering a lot of shows, and we end up taking a lot of clients to entertain them and kind of show what's upcoming. So I had one of the Toyota clients there, and there was a new show that was coming to air called Deadly Class, Deadly Class, which was based on a graphic novel. The Russo brothers, who are really famous for making movies, they were coming on board as producers. And we were doing a panel. If you know anything about Comic-Con, there's panels and people talk about shows and movies that they have coming up. And there's massive amounts of people who are really interested in what's going on. Turned out there were no tickets left. And it turned out that none of my sci-fi PR contacts or anybody could actually get us in a very nice and easy way. I was able to tap someone from programming and say, hey, look, I've got someone from Toyota. I'd like to show them this new show, show them the panel and kind of work through it. And they said, sure, no problem. I'm actually going to pull a few people and let you in there, because it was a packed house. And I think there was like 500 or 600 people. I had Lana Condor, who you guys might all know too. And what was really great about this one is You wouldn't think Toyota and sci-fi would mix, or if there's a way to kind of include them in a show. But again, this is one of those branded entertainment pieces where you can incorporate a vehicle or some type of product and actually merge it with what's going on with the content of the show. So we actually ended up tapping into one of the creators of the show and kind of talking to them about the counterculture, what the show was about. So here's a quick clip on what that looked like.
Class worth their Any fan of Deadly Class worth their ballpoint pen tattoo knows that they need to go to the source of the show's 1980s counterculture. So we've come to San Francisco for a behind-the-scenes adventure with the one and only Rick Remender.
The first time I came to San Francisco, I felt like I was coming home. A lot of the stories that happened in Deadly Class happened here. I remember feeling very much like, oh, I'm not alone.
Rick's class is still in session. Go to sci-fiwire.com for the full SF tour. Brought to you by the all-new RAV4. Toyota, let's go places.
Okay, so there's that. I'll show you one that we did for TikTok, kind of timely. If you're a Housewives fan or you know anything about Kyle Richards and Mauricio, they ended up doing a really fun spot for us with TikTok. Again, this is branded entertainment, kind of working through how you promote a product while leaning into your talent and the content within your company.
Okay, we are going to make pancake cereal.
You want me to make cereal pancakes?
No, pancake cereal, honey. It's a TikTok thing. Okay, you know pancakes, right? Okay, well, they're pancakes, except they're tiny and little, and there's 700 of them, and you flip them with a toothpick. Well, it's also cereal, except instead of milk, you use butter and maple syrup. And instead of a bowl, wait, I think you actually use the bowl.
Honey, you lost me at toothpicks.
You have to see it.
So yes, even social media companies like TikTok, Snapchat, they do advertise on linear television. All right, so now I'm going to go into my current job, and I'll kind of motor through this next part pretty quickly. So now I work at iHeartMedia. Again, not going to get into this, but we are also a multifaceted company. I work across multiple platforms. iHeartMedia reaches 90% of Americans, 276 million people on radio alone. Digital and mobile, we've got 161 podcasts, which is very big within the audio space, 457 million every single month for downloads. We've got 250 platforms where we can run a lot of our audio. We do events, we do social. We are a giant company that has a lot of access in various ways. We also have a lot of influencers, a lot of talent, a lot of people who we work with. That is really our bread and butter. If you know anything about radio, and this was a little bit tricky, changing companies, going from television content and streaming content over to an audio company, people are incredibly engaged when it comes to audio. If you think about it, when you're listening to something, it's really hard to watch something that's kind of playing as well. So you kind of have to lean in and understand like what's going on in that. Podcasts have obviously blown up significantly over the years. So people are actually spending more time on audio than they ever have. It's really great to lean into people who we have connections with within our company to help promote products and kind of talk through things, because they really are the trusted voices that consumers lean into. This is just a smattering of some of the podcasts that we run through. We also run some really, really cool creative executions. Not going to get into that too much because it'll end up sounding like a sales pitch, and I'm not here to pitch you on selling you anything, but just a little bit about what I do. Again, really important piece of who we are at iHeart. We also lean into a lot of cultural moments. So LGBTQ plus community, we've got the Outspoken Network, and we also have Black Effect, leaning into Black creators and Charlemagne the God. We have partnerships with sports, with NFL, NBA. We've got our own theater where we have events. And then we not only have events there, we have events all over the country. We have the iHeartRadio Music Festival in Vegas, which is 2 days long. We have various events all over the country, and advertisers definitely do end up coming in and partnering with us on the events, because there's a promotional element that's attached to it where we can use all our different audio platforms to promote the event and promote the advertiser as well. This is just a quick look at some of the films that I've worked with and some of the partners that I've worked with in the past year or so. I work primarily with Warner Brothers, Sony Pictures. I also work with Max, which was formerly known as HBO Max. Got to do some really, really cool things. And I'm just going to show you just a couple of projects that I've worked on recently. There's a little movie that was called Barbie. I don't know if anybody checked out the Oscars this past weekend, but being a music company first and foremost, we really got to lean into the music part of this. Obviously, Billie Eilish ended up winning an Oscar for her song, but we were able to amplify this film in a really, really big way. We had Barbie's best week ever across iHeart, where every single day we were doing something fun. We had events and ticket giveaways. We actually turned the iHeart logo pink, which had never been done before, and we definitely had a lot of fun with it. And so, these are some of the fun things that I get to do. A lot of work, but definitely a good time. One cool thing that I wanted to share that we also do, and some of the other audio companies have tapped into, is kind of the future of audio. And this is more from the creative side, because I know sometimes entertainment encompasses a lot of things. I am first and foremost a salesperson. I am, there to work strategically with partners, grow budgets, and kind of work through partnerships on the business side of things. There's definitely the creative side of things of the business, which is where marketing and some of the creative people come in. One of the cool things that we do is 3D audio. It is an experience where when you're listening to something, it's actually spatial. So I don't know if some of you out there actually have headphones in or any kind of something that's within your ears, but I'm just going to play you this really quick clip for something that we did for Warner Brothers, The Nun 2. That's kind of a fun spatial piece of creative.
From the Conjuring universe.
There's something here that's not meant to be.
What did you see?
I saw a nun.
On September 8th.
It's come back for me.
The church needs a miracle.
This thing, it doesn't run from anything.
A horror event of the year arrives.
It's okay to be scared. I'm scared too.
The Nun 2. Rated R. Under 17, not admitted without parent. Only in theaters September 8th.
So I don't know about you guys, but for horror movies, I have to turn the sound down or else the anticipation is going to kill me. But if you did have your earplugs in, you would have heard it kind of going all over the place, and it's just something fun.
From the Conjuring universe.
That's great for us because a lot of people listen to podcasts for the most part with headphones or something in. So let's talk a little bit about jobs and like how you can help get your foot in the door. So I actually had a really hard time getting an internship other than the one that I got at the Santa Barbara International Film Festival. A lot of companies want you to apply for an internship, especially entertainment companies that give you credit. And at the time, UCSB did not do that. So it was a little bit difficult for me to get an internship. But that's where, when I went to that ad agency, I said, look, I don't need credit. I don't need money. I just want to learn. And I was able to be mentored and learned a lot of things. So if you can't get an internship, get a job, get your foot in the door. You all might hear about the mailroom and people kind of starting small. Well, this applies, and you do have to start somewhere. If there's a company that you're interested in working with, find other jobs, just get your foot in the door. Start as assistant, go for production assistant. Shadow people for free if you can. I actually have a friend of mine, maybe about 10, 15 years ago. He was a director, and I was like, you know what? I wonder if I could be a director, I could be a producer. So I just got to hang out with him on set. I got to see what he did. I didn't ask for anything. I said, hey, you need me to be a gopher, grab you coffee, do anything. You really can do that if you, become friends with people, as long as you're offering up something to help them or you're not being intrusive. Meet with people you know or you don't know. If you have friends of friends, I can't tell you how many acquaintances that I've gone through and I've met, just off a phone call. Take 10 minutes, take 15 minutes, see if these people will meet with you and reach out. Find the entertainment people. Well, a lot of entertainment is in Southern California. That is expanding, that is changing. There are some cities that are definitely kind of leaned in, but really between here and New York, these are the hubs for entertainment. Go to the coffee shops, sit there, and if you're doing work, you never know who you could strike up a conversation. I get it. You're busy. You have your headphones on. Maybe you're on your phone. Be present. If you go to a bar and you're hanging out, waiting for someone at dinner, chat with the person next to you. I was on a flight not too long ago, ended up meeting an executive producer, chit-chatting about one of the films that he's coming up. That just opened another door. You never know what's going to happen and who you're going to meet. Be curious, but not intrusive. I can't tell you how many times in Burbank I'm walking down the street and they're filming something. Hey, what are you guys filming? What are you guys doing? And they'll say, hey, why don't you take a look? So there's that actor, there's that somebody, or, you know, you never know if it might be a producer, could be a grip or a gaffer, but, you know, chat people up. That's kind of what the entertainment industry is all about. Attend industry events. Very, very important. Again, this is where you're going to get to bump into people, where you're going to get to meet people. Variety has an entertainment summit where they run different panels on various topics. One could be on AI, one could be on the Barbie marketing campaign. You know, anything that you're interested in, they'll likely have something. Think LA is something in Los Angeles that's basically for advertisers, but they end up running a lot of entertainment forward events. They do gaming events. They, you know, talk about various topics. This is kind of how you continue your education post-college if you're not going to get your master's or your doctorate. But again, this is just another way for you to meet people. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to these events and I said, you know what? I want to go talk to that person. You might have to wait in line. It might be a little bit uncomfortable, but you know what? If there's somebody that's on a panel and they're doing something that you want to do, go chat them up. Chances are they will be open to meeting with you again, having coffee, having a quick conversation, but you got to make sure you follow up. Read publications and stay up to date. Know what's going on in Hollywood. Know exactly what happened at the Oscars this past weekend. What movie opened? How is the ratings on that? Or I'm sorry, how is the box office on that movie? How well is it doing? You know, different people at companies, you know, are coming and going. If you really want to work in this business, you got to kind of understand what's going on. If there's a specific area that you're working in, start reading and staying up to date specifically. The news isn't going to report on all this stuff. TMZ, or if you're looking on TikTok for those show videos, you know, that's great and it's good for pop culture, but the business side of it and understanding kind of what's going on is very important. So I listed some here. Deadline, The Angler, those are probably sites that I'm on daily, just seeing what's going on. Box Office Mojo gives me insight on what movies are coming up, how the box office performed. Hollywood Reporter, Variety, those are standards for the entertainment industry. Pitching a job, be detail oriented, but hold back. What I mean, you want to be an actor and you want to be famous, don't tell me. I understand you might want to get your foot in the door. I don't want to know, because if that's your ultimate goal, then coming and working as a sales assistant or marketing assistant and you're telling me that you're ready to be done is hard. Because remember, when you start a gig, we're investing in you. You're also investing in us and making sure that this is kind of a career path. It might not be the job that you want forever. Completely get that. But you can use that as a stepping stone. So be detail oriented. Make sure your resume is nice. There aren't a lot of typos. Have somebody else check that. But I don't want to know if you're going to host your own podcast and you want to use iHeart to do that. Maybe that might come down the line, but just kind of keep that to yourself. Keep it brief. Bullet points work. I'm trying to keep this brief. I know we're going a little bit lengthy here on time. I have a lot to talk about, but when you're doing your resume, I honestly don't want paragraph upon paragraph upon paragraph. Keep it short and sweet. Tell me what you did, what you accomplished, and a little bit about yourself, because honestly, if I'm looking through 30 different resumes, and that's after HR had a chance to kind of screen a bunch of things and they're going to have to do their job, just keep it straight and to the point. Customize your resume for the job that you're applying for. Now, I get it. You might not have the skill set needed for a particular job, but talk about something that you did that might be helpful for that job. Again, I'm applying for a job in the entertainment industry, applying for a marketing job. I might not have any marketing experience, but you know what? I've built reports, I've built presentations, I've got office skills that would totally help anybody. And that's kind of what people are going to want to see. So be very specific for every job that you're applying. And there's some tweaks that you can make to do that. You don't need to completely revamp your resume. Do your research, especially if you get an interview. Understand the company that you're interviewing for. The person that you're interviewing for, you better absolutely look them up on LinkedIn, because I can't tell you how many times I've had connections. Even my kid, I looked up somebody who did an interview for her high school and found out that my old assistant is her best friend. Who knew? But this is just another way of kind of connecting with people. Understand who that person is, because you never know if they might have gone to the same college as you. They might have been in your sorority. They might volunteer their time at a food bank that you volunteer your time at. it's another way to connect. And I say social stalk, understand who they are as a person, but you don't need to get creepy with the DMs or any of that, because sometimes that is a little bit of a turnoff, but sometimes it can work in your favor. And I talked about this a little bit before. Ask for informational.
I say go for it.
Seriously?
Claire, I have Nick on the phone from Fiji.
We're in the middle of something murderous.
He says it's an emergency. He's on.
Hello. Ask for an informational, ask for a little bit of time with somebody. Most of the time people do have 10 to 15 minutes, or they're grabbing a coffee on the way to the office or on the way to work. That's a good way to kind of talk to somebody, even if you don't know them. Ask questions. You don't need to ask 50 questions, but just have something in the back of your pocket, because you can also learn something from somebody, even if it might not be a job that you want, or learn something about them. Follow up, then follow up again, then do it again. I'm really busy and I'm so sorry. I know Taylor followed up a bunch of times. I was actually in Europe. I was in New York. I was kind of all over the place at different time zones. Sometimes things just get kind of past me. I get hundreds of emails a day. Follow up, be very nice, be very brief on emails. If you're bothering me, I'll let you know. Chances are you're not. So you're in a good spot when you do something like that. And then what can you do for me? So basically, part of kind of starting out in this business is what you're going to do to help me. So yes, you do want to be an actor, or you do want to have your own podcast. That's great. But these are the things that I can do to help you, or these are the things that we can do. I'm just talking about getting your foot in the door and kind of working through that. Just kind of have it in the back of your mind. Never, ever, ever burn a bridge. Yes, I had some pretty difficult bosses, people that have kind of given me a little PTSD over a few things, nothing major, but I didn't burn any bridges. I am very cordial with everybody, and they have opened doors, and they have helped me with things that I'm trying to pursue and things that I'm doing within my life. Never, ever burn a bridge. And then finally, be smart with your social media. Know what you're putting out there. Know what's public. Do a search, do a Google. Yes, there was a woman who got through HR, who got through interviews, interviewed well. One of my coworkers decided to Google her, found a YouTube video where she just annihilated her boss. Don't need that kind of energy here. So just be really, really weary of anything that you do on social media or anything that'll show up. People will Google you. I had a driver once I was getting picked up at the airport who told me, Googled me, and he knew kind of like, oh, you've got kids and you've got like, a lot about my background, but he wanted to see what I looked like, so he knew who to look out for. So just so you know, it's out there. Finally, this is my cautionary tale too. College is really, really fun. We get to definitely go to school. We get to definitely have fun. It is definitely a work hard, play hard place. This also goes for the entertainment industry as well as working in careers. I put up this picture. I don't know if you recognize it. It's from Mrs. Doubtfire. It's when Robin Williams' character has a really big meeting with the head of the studio to talk about the project. And the head of the studio is throwing back some scotches, and Robin Williams is also throwing back some scotches. And so he gets kind of inebriated, gets a little bit sloppy. I mean, it all ends up working out. But just know, anytime you're having fun, anytime you are at an event, you are always on. You are always being watched. You will never see a picture, well, for the most part, of a drink in a hand. You always want to keep that stuff kind of out of sorts. You don't want it on any pictures. It's just something that you should kind of, be very, very mindful of. I can't tell you, when I went to Comic-Con and I took clients, we would start the day at 6 a.m. with yoga on the beach. I would work through breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I would have panels. I'd be running all over the place. We would have a big event at night, and I wouldn't get back until 4 a.m, and then I would do it all over again the next day. So I had to stay on. I had to remember the conversations that we had. I had to make sure that I was sharp, and I knew, because it wasn't just one client, it was multiple people. I had to kind of know what was going on. There was a story that they told that I just kind of put in here. It was funny that I could even search it, about a young woman who was starting in the industry, who went to something called the Upfronts, which is basically in New York every May, where a lot of the bigger networks are kind of showcasing what their new programming is going to be. And she had a little bit too much to drink and ended up having to be taken away by the paramedics, but the New York Post was there. And so they decided to take pictures. And this was back in 2004, before social media. So it still got out there, and she got out of the industry and left. But this was just, a cautionary tale for you to be really careful. And sorry, I know that's a lot, but that's all I got. So I know we kind of went through a lot, but really appreciate it. That's it.
Thank you so much, Erica. That was just, I know I can speak for all of us that was an incredible presentation, so engaging, so like, just fascinating to get to see all the projects you've worked on, such insightful advice. So yeah, I want to just open up. Everyone's free to just go off mute if you have some questions. I know that was, so I think looks like Rachel has her hand up if you want to ask your question.
Hi.
Hey.
Thank you so much for your time. That was really insightful. I loved listening and hearing about how you navigated your time post grad. I just wanted to comment and say I actually entered at RNC PMK this past summer as a brain integration intern. So hearing your perspectives about how you were in college and like how everything unfolded afterwards and the kinds of things you were doing were really resonating with me. I'm currently a senior, so it's really inspiring and motivating to hear that, and I really appreciated it.
Awesome. You're very welcome. Keep those connections.
Will do.
Awesome. Go ahead, Laura.
Hi, yes, thank you very much for the great presentation, and you gave a lot of insightful advice. I did have a question. You talked about it a little in your presentation, but I was wondering if I could get a little bit more insight on this. So you mentioned that sometimes you have to take a job in an area that's not quite as relevant, and you kind of have to leverage that information and sell yourself to the position that you're applying for. Could you give us a little bit more advice on how we can better sell ourselves to specific positions that might be more towards the entertainment industry, if our previous experience wasn't quite in the entertainment industry?
I'll be honest with you. We do hire good people. So I think, again, there's a way to get really creative with your resume because there are skill sets that apply to a lot of different jobs. When you're looking at a job, definitely look at the way that it's phrased. I'm not saying plagiarize it. I'm not saying copy it. But basically, if it's looking for X, then you kind of answer it and be able to kind of work through it, on ways that you would be able to work through that position. So it is a little bit of creative writing on selling yourself a little bit, but I can't tell you how many people that maybe didn't have experience, but just were really hungry and energetic. And those would beat out people who didn't have the background or skills. So just get really creative with what you're doing. However, if there is a job that you're going for, let's say like it's in the digital space and you want to work through that, there are so many resources and so many things that you could learn online. LinkedIn has a bunch of different programs. I'm sure YouTube does too. But again, if you could shadow somebody, if you could work with somebody and you could kind of pick up those skills that you need for a specific job, do it. It's not going to be easy, but it's something that's going to kind of help you get to where you're going.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Any more questions? I'm sure we have time for a couple more. Yeah, go ahead, Ellie.
Hi, yes, thank you so much for all of your advice. It's very relevant and helpful. And I also just interned on the PR team for the film festival. So it was very encouraging to see that that was where your start was, and it gives me hope for my future. But the question I wanted to ask was, you were talking about product placement in shows, and I was just wondering if you've ever had a time where the creatives behind the show weren't super excited about the product placement and kind of how you managed that.
Good question. Yeah, because we had autos where they were just like, nope, we're looking for a Bentley and you're giving us a Ford. Like, we're not going to do that. Ultimately, the creators do have creative control. So when it comes to integrations, we kind of thread a very fine line between what we make them do and what they have the creative freedom to do. Now, It's very rare because for the most part, when someone is developing a show or a company is developing a show, they will give us a long list of what they might be looking for. So we're already on the lookout for like various products and things that are kind of being worked through. So it's a very fine line, but honestly, creators have a lot of control these days. But you can also get very creative. It doesn't mean that if it's not being integrated in the show, like even if Lexus and their vehicle wasn't in Suits, we could still create that moment. We could still work with talent. That is separate from any of the production. So it's just another way to do it. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, totally answers it. Thank you so much.
Perfect. I have a couple more in the chat. It just says the comm department at UCSB is very theory-based and you're not exposed to the true heart of the careers in the industry. But did your degree or experience here actually help you in your career path?
Great question, Becca, because I said this about UCSB. Great place to go to school, incredibly theory-based. And sometimes a lot of what you're doing in college isn't applicable. Completely get that. However, time management, reporting, research, insights on interpersonal relations, probably one of the best classes that I took at UCSB, will all kind of help you in terms of making you a more valuable candidate for jobs. It's really the way that you think and the way that you apply things. And that's where picking up jobs, doing internships, that's the experience part that's kind of helping you within the entertainment industry. So it's really, really important to have a parallel path of your education, but then also, working this, working jobs that are going to help you get to the next level too.
Perfect. And then I have one more question. As a professional who's been in the industry for some time, what agencies would you recommend looking into to gain experience and network?
Okay, well, we'll talk ad agencies because I think that's, a good way to get exposure into the entertainment industry. I mean, there's a whole company called OMG, and they've got a bunch of different agencies, Hearts and Science that handles Warner Brothers. There is OMD Entertainment, which handles Disney. There's another group of agencies under Publicis, which is an international company. They've got Starcom and Zenith. Starcom handles Max from HBO Max. But if you look up advertising agencies and you look up parent companies, I think IPG, Universal McCann, they handle Sony. There are a bunch, and there are a lot of different facets to it. There's a media piece, there's the creative piece, there might be a marketing arm. So definitely take a look at all those because they've just got so many different agencies, and accounts move agencies too. People move agencies too, with accounts, without accounts. It is a very small world where I work, and I have been working with a lot of the same people who are now at different jobs. So there's definitely definitely look into that.
Awesome. Well, I know that we could talk all night, but we want to be cognizant of time. So I just want to say thank you again to Erika. That was such an amazing presentation. And I know I'll be watching it again once it's recorded. So thank you so much. And yeah, I hope everyone continues to tune into these. So much valuable information. So I hope everyone has a great night. And thank you so much, Erika.